this automatic air vent, and it was leaking out the top. So he said, what should I do? Should I drain the heating down or what? I said, tell you what to do, always get your stuff ready before you do anything where there's going to be any water. Where the water's run down here, it's gone all inside the motorised valve. And then we've got to offer it back in, and hopefully it'll catch onto that. I'm always wearing these rigid ones because sometimes you can push it in and it'll push the whole lot in. As you can see, the water level is right at the top and it's going through the overflow ever so slightly, and you can see the ripples in the water there. Right, and I'm between two minds now. We're going to obviously change that, but this Flowmaster doesn't look that old. Well, fair play to Stuart. He's bought me a coffee up, but he's also bought me up fucking mince pie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody is doing really well. I've struggled a little bit this week with motivation. I don't know why. I think maybe because I've got a load of little jobs I'm trying to get done. Everything that's gone on the last couple of weeks, as I've said before. But yeah, I just found my mind wandering a little bit. And I think a lot of people are finding that with the shift in the weather and, you know, coming up to the tail end of the year, you always get it, you know, when it starts getting dark at night earlier and all that sort of stuff. So I just want to say, if you are finding stuff getting to you a little bit, talk to someone. I'm a massive fan of, like what Rob says of Mind Your Head podcast. Just start a conversation. Just say to someone, you all right? How you doing? If you're on site with another trade, the sparkers, plasterers, chippies, whoever, just have a chat. Sit down for 10 minutes, have a proper chat. Don't just bollock your way through the day. You've got to take time to just sit down, switch off for 10 minutes, have a coffee, or like what I've had this week, someone's bought a mince pie out. You'll see in the video. Someone bought a mince pie. Does that mean it's Christmas? When you get Strictly Come Dancing on the telly and people start banging out mince pies to you at tea break, you know Christmas is on the way. So yeah, I found it a little bit of a stressful week, and it don't out when a mate of mine swanning off into Italy on holiday. You'll know who you are. Anyway, let's go on with tonight's video. A couple of little things, jobbing around a little bit this week, as I said, and I'm finding, and I'm sure a lot of you are, people are beginning to turn the heating systems on, even though the energy prices are through the roof. People are beginning to switch their heating systems on, and we're getting them little faults. Had a fault, you'll see in the video today, had a fault on a system. Two issues, actually. Went out to one issue, which was a knock-on effect to another issue. So you'll see that, and then a couple of other little problems on jobs, and one that is really beginning to piss me off, which is at the end of the video, so you'll see that. So before I go, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We are very close to hitting that 20,000 subscribers to the channel, which would be amazing. If we can get it done, dusted in the locker before we really get into Christmas, that would be amazing. Because remember last year we had that big massive push right to the end of the year to try and get 10,000, because as you know, 1st of January was the day I set the channel up, which will be 2 years ago. So to get 20,000 subscribers in the first 2 years would be amazing. So if you're watching this and not subscribed, just hit that subscribe button. So that's enough from me. Let's get on with it, and I'll catch you soon. So you know when you're at home at night, sat on the sofa, and your phone bings with a number and a message, hello mate, got a bit of a problem. That's what I had last night. So a customer of mine dropped me a message saying parents have got a leak at their house. Is it something that I can have a look at fairly quickly, because it's a leak in the airing cupboards, and he sent me a picture. Now, he sent me a picture of this automatic air vent, and it was leaking out the top. So what I said to it, he said, what should I do? Should I drain the heating down or what? I said, tell you what to do, go into your garage. I know he's a cyclist anyway, so I knew he'd have one of these knocking about. Go into your garage, get the cap from a tyre and tighten it on top of the automatic air vent, and it will stop it majority, because it was pissing out, and it will stop the water from coming out. He said it was squirting out quite badly, and obviously because this is a gravity fed system, the tank up in the roof was constantly going to keep topping it up. If it was on like a pressurized system, it would lose the pressure and it would stop eventually. Because it's gravity, it's going to keep going. So little tip I told him, get a tyre valve cap and tighten it onto it as much as you can, and I'll come around tomorrow and get that swapped out. So that's what we're here to do. As I said, it's on a gravity system, so we're going to jump up into the roof, bung the tanks, cause a vacuum in the system, what I'll do is undo it off here. I'll put an isolation valve there so we can turn it off, and then a new automatic air vent, just to the point that if ever there's a problem with the new one in years to come, just isolate it off and switch it over. So first things first, I've got them somewhere. Get the bungs in the tank and get a vacuum so we can whip that one off and put the new one on. So we're up in the loft, and as you can see, this is the heating tank, the smaller one out of the two. We'll bung the vent, pop a bung into the vent pipe, and as you can see from the side, the fill pipe is down in this corner. So I'll stick my hand in with this one and push that into the bung, push that into the tank connector, and then pop that one, if you can see it, onto the vent pipe. Obviously the heating system is completely off at the minute, so the pump's not running or anything, but doing that, just bunging them two vents and feeds off, will cause a vacuum in the system. Then we should be able to just take the automatic air vent off the top, put the isolation valve on and fit the new one on. Fairly straightforward. So with the tanks bunged in the roof, always get your stuff ready before you do anything where there's going to be any water. Got the vac ready, always have the aqua vac ready, just so we can hold it there, suck a little bit of the water out. But it's things like get your spanners or your grips ready, get your adjustables ready, get them set to the size you're going to need it, get your grips ready, get your isolation valve ready, get it turned off, so when you do undo that, if there is a little bit of water, undo that, whip it off, worst comes to worst, get it straight on and tighten it up. If there's not much water, we can get some paste around it. As soon as that's on, with the valve off, we're safe to go. We can work from that then. So always get stuff ready to go. So bungs are in the tank. Let's crack this nut here, get the aqua vac on it, suck any water away, and get ready to switch it over. So there's a little bit of water in it. We just use the aqua vac to just suck it out. What I'm going to do is get a bit of paste on there, like so. And then, as I say, we've got the isolation valve ready. So it's just a case, I don't know if you can see that. We just literally snatch it across, like so. The majority of the pressure's gone out of it because we've bunged the tanks, but it's as straightforward as that. And all we've got to do is tighten that up. And also doing it this way, you haven't drained the whole system down, you haven't got to spend time going around doing the rads, venting the rads, because you always know a gravity fed system is prone to airlocks. Now they are a nightmare to try and get out. So there we go. So that's done, isolated. So what we do now, get a little bit of pipe, automatic air vent on there, take the bungs out of the tank, open the isolation valve up, and away we go. Straightforward enough fix. As always, a little bit of paste on any compression nut. A bit too much there. Yeah, always paste them up. It just gives that little bit of extra security. You know not going to leak. So yeah, let's get this tightened in. Right, let's take the bungs back out. You hear that? That is it. That's the vacuum. So you pull that. We didn't lose too much water, so it probably won't even try and fill back up. But yeah, bungs are out. So that's the bungs out. We'll go down now, fire the heating system up, get it running up, and make sure all is well. So that's the bungs out. Let's open this up. You may get a little bit of air through there. Let's see. Ever so slightly, a little bit. But yeah, I always just tighten the tops down, give them a quarter turn off, and then it will work. Whatever air is caught in the system will find its way out through there and vent itself. So we've got the heating back on. That's working fine. Now, I ran the heating up, ran the hot water up, and the customer said to me when they had this leak, they found that for some reason, they didn't know if it was related, the hot water was really, really hot. And I thought, right, okay, it could be one or two things. So I said, right, let's get this sorted and I'll run the heating and hot water up and just see what's going on. So we've had it running, and it turns out, as you can see, obviously where the water's run down here, it's gone all inside the motorised valve and completely mashed the synchro on it. So luckily, as you will have noticed, it's a Honeywell valve. Now, going back a few months, I had issues with Honeywell valves and I swapped them to EPH valves. Spoke to the Honeywell rep, Simon, and fair play to him, he gave me a load of synchro motors, and fair play to him, he gave me a couple of 2 ports and 3 ports as well. But he gave me some synchro. So what I'm going to do is just switch out that synchro for a new one, and that should solve the problem with this, because I think the water ingress has just got to it and burnt it out. So we'll switch that over. So what I've done, knock the power off, and they're fairly straightforward again to do with the synchro motors. You get the complete instructions with them. So it's a case of turning the power off, removing the cover, cut off the crimped connectors, which are these, and remove the mounting screws, and then the motor will just pull forward. So that's the synchro changed. It is a case of there's a screw down the back there that you remove, and that synchro motor just pulls out. Cut the 2 cables, reconnect them, and they give you the little connector blocks as well. Put it back in, screw back in, power back on. You don't even have to drain the heating because it is just where the cog is sitting internally onto the actual body. So we've changed that now. It's working completely independent. We've got hot water obviously this side. We've got heating this side, hot water that side. Before, it was just stuck in the middle, feeding both, hence why when they said that the heating was on and the hot water was absolutely boiling, now they can regulate the hot water again. We just switched over synchro motor. So yeah, we'll get all this tidied up, cover back on, and get it handed back over. So I've got a tendency at the minute to start jobs without starting my camera, and this is a prime example of it. We've basically been called out to this pan and cistern, this toilet. The ball valve's not working, it's not filling up. I've tried filling around with it, it's just no good. So we're going to swap it out. Now, this pan, as you can see, is a back to the wall pan. So we had to pull it off the wall to get to the isolation valve at the back, which is fine. As I've done it, I've noticed there's no brackets holding the pan on. Remember, always remember this, in a lot of new houses they have underfloor heating mats put into the bathroom. Now I've spoke to the customer. He says, yeah, there's underfloor heating mats, there's a panel out the front there. He doesn't know where the strips for the underfloor heating are. He thinks that is why they haven't screwed it. So I'm not going to risk screwing some new brackets into it, because you know exactly what's going to happen. You're going to hit one of the cables and it's game over for the underfloor heating. So what we'll do, I think that's why they've siliconed it in before. So what we'll do, we'll silicone it back in. But we've just pulled it away from the wall. We've got a fixed pan connector on this one. A lot of these come with flexi pan connectors because they're just easier to fit once you push them back, but we should be okay with this one. As you can see, look at the amount of silicone they've got on here, so we'll have to clear all this up. But what we've got to do is split the cistern off the top of the toilet to switch out the ball valve in there. So this one has got 2 little pins here, if you can see them. Just unscrew them off there, and it should come away straight forward like that. Then we can switch the ball valve out for the Thomas Dudley one. Right, there we go, cistern's off. We'll replace this flush cone as well because they just squash together, and for the sake of it we'll chuck a new one on. So all we've got to do then now is whip that out of there, nice and easy, and replace with this one. And I always try to get ones with brass bottoms. All the Thomas Dudley ones come with a brass bottom, or the majority of them come with a brass bottom. So it's just easier, you know, when you're connecting back on, you know you're not going to risk cross-threading it. So we got that back on, got the new valve in, system back on. We're just connecting up the flexi up into there and then tightening up these bolts, and then we've got to offer it back in and hopefully it'll catch onto that. I'm always wearing these rigid ones because sometimes you can push it in and it'll push the whole lot in, and you don't know until you flush it and it starts pissing out the bottom. So there we go, back in. As I said, I've silicone around the bottom because we don't know where the underfloor heating mat is on this one, but all up and working. I thought this one was going to be a real pain, but to be fair, touch wood, it didn't go too bad. You'll never guess where I am. Little clue here. Little clue here. Yeah, it's the bed and breakfast with the Saniflow. Sorry, not Saniflow, Grundfos pump, because we've switched it. Now, that was fitted about a week ago, or yeah, probably about a week ago. Been fine. Stuart, the owner, had a customer in here the other day and they said the pump kept cutting in. It's just done it. Pump kept cutting in during the night. Is there a problem with the pump? I said no, definitely not. So I came out, had a quick look inside the system, see if anything was amiss, flushed it, it was fine. Checked the back of the pan to see if there was any water running down, there was none. So I thought, right, okay, left it with Stuart. A couple of days later he messaged me, yeah, all seems fine. Messaged me again this morning saying, sorry, someone's been in overnight and they've said the same thing. So I said, not a problem, I'll come round and have a good investigation. So I've come round tonight, I've come round today and whipped the top off, and as you can see the water level is right at the top and it's going through the overflow ever so slightly, and you can see the ripples in the water there. So it's just going through, and because we've got a macerator on this, obviously it's just trickling through. So every, for argument's sake, 20 minutes or half an hour, it's just kicking in because it's lifting the flow that little bit higher. So it is, the ball valve is passing, so you can see it obviously right up to the top. So we're going to take this off. It's a pain in the ass because we had it all out the other day, but it is what it is. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to replace that. I'm going to replace the siphon as well because we're taking it off. Sod's law, we'll put it all back together and that would be an issue as well. So basically completely gut the insides of the cistern and fit new in there. But it's just a pain to get to. We can't do it, so we're going to shut it off here, take it out. Yes, there's a gap at the back, but it's not big enough to get our hands in. So we're going to disconnect it, take the toilet out, split the cistern. Now you know full well, splitting the cistern, we're going to have to replace the washer, so we've got a close couple kit as well to go on. There was no issue with the toilet prior to doing it, it's just because it's been out, maybe it's just disturbed it or something. But anyway, we're going to get this out and get it switched over. So we've isolated it there, and we will just flush out, completely empty the cistern. We might as well leave the macerator on because we're not even going to be touching that. Completely flush that. I will go and get the Aquavac actually, and we can suck out everything in the bottom of there as well. So we've got the flexi disconnected off the back. Now we've got these two little nuts here and here that are holding the cistern on, so we remove them and hopefully it's going to be fairly straightforward to get this off. It's not too sort of seized on, because sometimes it can be an absolute pig. I'm not sure whether I've just done one of these on the video. I have done another valve change this week, but I'm not sure what I've put in this video. It could be the same, just a video of valve changes. What more do you want? So we'll whip the cistern top off, like so. And it doesn't look too bad, but yeah. So we're going to whip this off, and fit some new stuff in. Right, and I'm between two minds now. We're going to obviously change that, but this Flowmaster doesn't look that old. See, that nut and that looks alright from the bottom. But I've got another Flowmaster in there. So sod it, I'm just going to change. I'm going to put the whole complete kit in it because it's a part. Oh, I was a bit umming and ahhing then, but always trust your gut. Go with your gut. Just completely change it. So we're going to completely change it. Right, I've got my grips. So let's whip this one out. Pop the new one in. You see, that don't look too old at all. But it's better to be safe than sorry. Because you know full well we'd change it and it'd piss out, wouldn't it? So that's the siphon changed. We'll just whip out this ball valve now, because this is what the culprit is. It's just not shutting off. Sometimes it will shut off and sometimes it won't. So it's an old one anyway. But always set the height of the new one same as the old one. It's about there, give or take. And also this one, like the Dudley one, it's got a brass bottom on it, which is always nice to save any issues of cross threading. So that's made up, if you can see it, with our new innards, new ball valve, new siphon and flush valve, and we've got a new sponge ring to go on here. So we'll get this set back onto there, get it connected and get it tested. So, I don't know if you can see, so we'll get this nut back on this side. Always tighten it up, but not too tight just yet, just to make sure the flexi will connect onto there, which it will, I think, just about. Same that side. Get the nuts in, get the wing nuts on, tighten it up, get the tension into the bottom of the system and compress that foam nut onto the bottom, onto the top of the pan. It's a bit of a fiddle, this one, to be truthful. But yeah, those foam washers, always fit a new one of them where you can, for the sake of a few pence, because they will cause you some grief if they don't want to seal properly, and you'll be having the toilet in and out, in and out. So we've got that tightened on. Let's turn the water onto it just to see if it leaks. So you don't have to turn it on completely. As I said, the job just keeps getting worse and worse. I'm going to put a new flexi on it because I was just a little bit wary of that other one. Just bang a new one on there. So I'll just grab one out of the van and stick one on there, try and eliminate any issues. Well, fair play to Stuart, he's bought me a coffee up, but he's also bought me up fucking mince pie. Is it Christmas already? It's got to be the countdown to it. Strictly's on. Now we're getting the mince pies, so that is definitely the countdown to Christmas. So there we go, that's the pan back in. As you can see from the top now, the levels are fine, that's working fine. I've flushed it a couple of times, all's good, but I'm going to hang around for sort of half an hour or so, 20 minutes or so, just to make sure it doesn't go above and the macerator kick in, which it shouldn't do because there's no other way of water getting in. But when you do get that problem, if you do go to a job where the macerator is kicking in periodically, it's either going to be a little trickle of water from the pan, if the basin's connected to it, a dripping tap, or like behind we've got the shower here that's also connected under the floor to it. It could be one of them. They're always the first things to check, and as we found with this one, the water was just rising up because the ball valve wasn't shutting off, out into the overflow of the siphon, and just dropping back into the pan and making that kick in. So yeah, this is just a nightmare of a job, but hopefully now it's sorted.